The Bonin Islands, also known as the Ogasawara Islands, are an archipelago of over 30 subtropical and tropical islands, some 1,000 kilometers directly south of Tokyo, Japan. The name Bonin Islands comes from the Japanese word bunin, meaning no people or uninhabited. The only inhabited islands of the group are Chichi-jima, the seat of the municipal government, and Haha-jima, which includes Ogasawara Village, Ogasawara Municipality and Ogasawara Subprefecture take their names from the Ogasawara Group. However, Ogasawara Archipelago may also be a wider collective term that includes other islands in Ogasawara Municipality, such as the Volcano Islands, along with other small, uninhabited and isolated islands. Geographically speaking, all of these islands are part of the Nampo Islands, a total population of 2,440, comprising 2,000 on Chichi-jima and 440 on Haha-jima, lives in the Ogasawara Group, which have a total area of 84 square kilometers. Because the Ogasawara Islands have never been connected to a continent, many of their animals and plants have undergone unique evolutionary processes. This has led to the island's nickname of the Galapagos of the Orient, and the nomination as a Natural World Heritage Site on June 24, 2011. The giant squid was filmed off the Ogasawara Islands for the first time in the wild on September 27, 2005, and was captured in December 2006. A 25-meter diameter radio telescope is located in Chichi-jima, one of the stations of the VLBI Exploration of Radio Astrometry project, and is operated by the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan. Geography and administration. The Bonin Islands consist of 3 subgroups, which are listed below along with the main islands: Muko-jima Group, formerly Parry Group; Muko-jima, Yome-jima, formerly Katerai; Nakodo-jima and Nakadachi-jima; Kitano-jima, Mei-jima, formerly the Ears; Chichi-jima Group, formerly Bichi Group; Chichi-jima, formerly Mainai; Pili, Unijima, formerly Hogai; Buckland-I; Ototo-jima, formerly North-I; Stapleton-I; Mago-jima; Higashi-jima; Nishi-jima, formerly Goat-I; Minami-jima, formerly Norway; Haha-jima Group, formerly Bailey Group; Coffin Islands; Haha-jima, formerly Hillsborough-I; Muko-jima, formerly Plymouth-I; Hira-jima, Atera-jima; Ain-jima, formerly Perry-I; Amoto-jima, formerly Kelly-I; Mei-jima. Administratively, the Volcano Islands, Nishino-shima, Okino-trashima and Minami-trashima, are today part of Ogasawara Municipality. Geographically, they are not traditionally considered part of the Bonin Islands, which are the Muko-jima, Chichi-jima, and Haha-jima island clusters. In other words, the historical range of the Bonin Islands is not the precise equivalent of the Japanese governmental unit. The Bonin Islands is a geographical term excluding the other islands which are today associated within the boundaries of a collective term. Ogasawara Shoto. History. Prehistoric tools and carved stones, discovered on North Iwo Jima at the end of the 20th century, as well as stone tools discovered on Chichi-jima, indicate the islands might have been populated in ancient times. Early claims. The first recorded visit by Europeans to the islands happened on the 2nd of October 1543, when the Spanish explorer Bernardo de la Torre sighted Haha-jima, which he charted as Fafana. At the time, the islands were not populated. Japanese discovery of the islands occurred in Kanban 10 and was followed by a shogunate expedition in ENP03. The islands are claimed as a territory of Japan. They are then referred to as Haha-jima, literally the uninhabited islands. In 1727, Ogasawara Sadato, a Ronin, claimed that the islands were discovered by his ancestor Ogasawara Sadayori in 1593, and the territory was granted as a fief by Toyotomi Hideyoshi. However, investigation of the claim found that it was a fraud and the very existence of Sadayori was doubtful. As a punishment, Sadato was exiled by the shogunate. The first published description of the islands in the West was brought to Europe by Isaac Titsing in 1796. His small library of Japanese books included Sangukosu and Zusetsu by Hayashi Shihei. This book, which was published in Japan in 1785, briefly described the Ogasawara Islands. These groups were collectively called Islas del Arzobispo in Spanish sources of the 18th–19th century. This name is most likely due to an expedition organized by the Arzobispo Pedro Moya de Contreras, Viceroy of New Spain, to explore the northern Pacific and the islands of Japan. Its main objective was to find the long-sought and legendary islands of Rica de Oro, Rica de Plata and the Islas del Armenio. After several years of planning and frustrated attempts, the expedition finally set sail on 12 July 1587, commanded by Pedro de Unamuno. Even if it did revisit the Daito Islands, already charted by Bernardo de la Torre in 1543, the expedition could not find the wanted islands after searching the positions where they were charted in contemporary references. Japanese maps at the time seem to have been rather inaccurate and therefore considered by some to be deliberately misleading. It is thought that this was an attempt to discourage colonization attempts by foreign nations. Frederick William Beechey used the Spanish name as late as 1831 and believed that the Japanese Bonin referred to entirely different islands. British possession in 1827, Captain F. W. Beechey of HMS Blossom reached the island chain and claimed them as a British possession. A copper plate was removed from Blossom's hull and left on a beach as a marker of the claim. HBM ship Blossom Captain F. W. Beechey took possession of this group of islands in the name of and on the behalf of His Britannic Majesty George IV on 14 June 1827. In 1830, Nathaniel Savory, an American, landed on the island of Chichi-jima in 1830 and formed the first permanent colony there, along with 29 other people from Hawaii, the continental United States and Europe. The first settlers were Richard Millichamp of Devon, England, Matteo Mazzaro of Dubrovnik, Austrian Empire, Oldham B. Chapin and Nathaniel Savory of Boston, Carl Johnson of Copenhagen, as well as 7 unnamed men and 13 women from the Kingdom of Hawaii. 2 years later, the Oriental Translation Fund of Great Britain and Ireland published a posthumous, abridged publication of Titsing's French translation of Sankokusu and Zusetsu. Further settlers arrived in 1846, aboard the whaling ship Howard. They established themselves initially in South Island. Commodore Matthew C. Perry of the United States Navy visited the islands in 1853 and bought property at Port Lloyd from Savory for $50. The U.S. colony of Peel Island was created and Savory was appointed governor. Japanese possession. In 1862, the islands were claimed by Japan, and in 1875 the Japanese government renamed them the Ogasawara Islands. The Japanese names of each island were resolved and 38 settlers from Chichi-jima were sent the following year. In 1876 the islands were put under the direct control of the Home Ministry and the islanders of European and U.S. ancestry were granted Japanese nationality in 1882. Jack London visited the islands in 1893 and published an account of his sojourn. A history of the islands was compiled by Lionel Cholmondeley over the course of several years, and his work was published in London in 1915. In 1917, 60 to 70 island people claimed ancestry among the 19th-century English-speaking settlers. However, in 1941, no Bonin people would acknowledge descent from these early colonists. The current residents include some who claim to be related to Nathaniel Savory. In the winter of 1920–1921, Russian futurist painter David Berlioz lived in the Bonin Islands and painted several landscapes of the islands. The Ogasawara Islanders were relegated to an insignificant status up through the early Showa period. During World War II, most inhabitants were forcibly evacuated to the mainland. There was a Japanese military base on Chichi-jima run by a Major Sueo Mataba, who was known for engaging in cannibalism and other acts on prisoners of war. He was executed for his crimes after the war. Future President George H.W. Bush's plane crashed in the ocean near Chichi-jima, and he was rescued by an American submarine. The Battle of Iwo Jima in 1945, one of the fiercest battles of World War II, was fought on a garrison island in this region of the Pacific. Following World War II, the islands were controlled by the United States Navy, which expelled all residents except those descended from the original settlers and, or related to them by marriage, while allowing the return of pre-war inhabitants of white American, European, Micronesian and Polynesian ancestry. The islands were returned to Japanese control in 1968, after which other Japanese citizens were allowed to return. In November 2013, a new volcanic island formed, provisionally named Haha-jima. Demography, language and education. Virtually all of the Bonin Islands inhabitants are Japanese citizens. This includes the significant proportion with ancestors from the United States, Europe and other Pacific islands, who can often be distinguished by the family names and ancestry, physical features or adherence to Christianity. During and after the U.S. military occupation of 1946–68, a small minority of islanders opted for U.S. citizenship and, or emigrated from the islands. However, most islanders with non-Japanese ancestry now appear to be re-assimilating with the ethnic Japanese majority. Japanese is the common language, because settlers from the United States, Europe and other Pacific islands preceded ethnic Japanese residents, and English lexified Pigeon. The Ogasawara mixed language emerged on the islands during the 19th century. This was the result of Japanese being hybridized with Island English, resulting in a mixed language that can still be heard. The Ogasawara Village Municipality operates public elementary and junior high schools, while Tokyo Metropolitan Government Board of Education operates Ogasawara High School. Transportation. One can get from the main Japanese islands to Chichi-jima by way of the Ogasawara Maru liner, run by Ogasawara Marine Transportation. The ship leaves from Takeshiba Pier in Tokyo Bay, and the trip takes around 25.5 hours. There are 4 or 5 crossings each month. The Ogasawara Maru is a 6,700 tons vessel, 131 meter long, with a capacity of 1,031 passengers. To get to Haha-jima, one must first get to Chichi-jima, and then cross by the liner Haha-jima Maru. Because the trip from the main Japanese islands to the Ogasawaras is very difficult when people get severely ill or otherwise have an emergency, Word is conveyed to the Iwo Jima Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force post, and a helicopter is sent to the islands. Emergencies can also be handled from the main Japanese islands by Japan Air Self-Defense Force airplanes, or the Maritime Self-Defense Force base in Iwakuni can convey evacuees to the main islands by seaplane, the Shinmei US-1. This seaplane is also used to transport the Tokyo governor and other VIPs. Ogasawara Village operates a bus service on Chichi-jima, and elderly passengers may use a silver pass. There is also a sightseeing taxi service, a rental car company, motorized scooter rental services, a bike rental service, and other amenities. Bringing one's own automobile onto the island is extremely difficult and costly. Transportation issues. The world's first techno-superliner, the superliner Ogasawara, with a maximum speed of 38 knots, 14,500 tons gross tonnage, was expected to shorten the voyage to Ogasawara to about 17 hours and carry up to 740 passengers. However, the project was cancelled in July 2005 due to rising fuel prices and the loss of 2 billion yen. The Ogasawara Islands have no airport, and there is no prospect for one being constructed. However, for several decades there was talk of building one. Haha-jima and Chichi-jima were once designated possible construction sites, but because there are numerous valuable, rare, or endangered plant species forming a unique ecosystem in the vicinity of the proposed sites, issues of nature conservation were raised. Although construction of an airport was desired by some, a desire to keep the natural beauty of the islands untouched created a movement to block it. The airport issue was quite controversial on the islands. Geology. Formation. The Ogasawara Islands were formed around 48 million years ago. They are a part of the Bonin Mariana Arc, known geologically as a fore-arc. They lie above a subduction zone between the Pacific Plate and the Philippine Sea Plate. The Pacific Plate is subducting under the Philippine Sea Plate, which creates an oceanic trench to the east of the islands, the Burnin Trench. The crust of the Ogasawara Islands was formed by volcanic activity when subduction began 45–50 million years ago, and is composed mostly of an andesitic volcanic rock called boninite, which is rich in magnesium oxide, chromium, and silicon dioxide. The Ogasawara Islands may represent the exposed parts of an ophiolite that has not yet been emplaced on oceanic crust. The rocks of the volcano islands are much younger. Iwo Jima is a dormant volcano characterized by rapid uplift and several hot springs. Most of the islands have steep shorelines, often with sea cliffs ranging from 50 to 100 meters in height, but the islands are also fringed with coral reefs and have many beaches. The highest point lies on South Iwo Jima at 916 meters. Ecology. Flora has evolved differently on each of the islands. The Ogasawara Islands are sometimes referred to as the Galapagos of the Orient. These islands are home to the northernmost outliers of the clinostigma genus of palms. C. Savorianum is endemic and has been planted in Mediterranean climates, often with success. Other unique species include Metrosideros boninensis, a plant related to similar species growing in Fiji and New Caledonia. The Ogasawara Islands form a distinct subtropical moist broadleaf forest ecoregion, with a high degree of biodiversity and endemism. The islands are home to about 500 plant species, of which 43% are endemic. The forests are of three main types. Type 1, Heliocarpus ardisia. Mesic forest is found in the moist lowland areas with deep soils. The forests have a closed canopy with a height of about 15 meters, dominated by Ardisia sieboldi. Heliocarpus photinii folius Pisonia umbellifera and Pauteria obovata are other important canopy species. These forests were almost completely destroyed by clearing for agriculture before 1945. Type 2. Distaleum Raphaelopes Shima dry forest is found in dry lowland and upland sites with shallower soils. It is also a closed canopy forest, with a 4 to 8 meter canopy composed mostly of Distaleum lepidotum, Raphaelopes integerrima, Shima mertensiana, Pauteria obovata and Syzygium buxifolium. The Type 2 forests can be further subdivided into Type I. Distaleum Shima dry forest occurs in cloudy upland areas with fine textured soils. These forests contain many rare and endemic species, with Pandanus boninensis and Syzygium buxifolium as the predominant trees. Type IIB. Raphaelepsis livistona dry forest is found in upland areas with few clouds and rocky soils. Raphaelepis integerrima is the dominant tree species, along with the fan palm livistona chinensis var. Bonensis, Pandanus boninensis and Ocrosia nacana. Type 3. Distaleum pauteria scrub forest is found on windy and dry mountain ridges and exposed sea cliffs. These forests have the highest species diversity on the islands. Distaleum lepidotum and Pauteria obovata are the dominant species, growing from 0.5 to 1.5 meters tall. Other common shrubs are Myrcene ocabina, Symplochos kawakami, and Pittosporum parvifolium. Fauna of the range of the Bonin petrel extends beyond the Ogasawaras to include other islands in the northern Pacific region. There are two restricted range species of birds on the islands, the Japanese wood pigeon and the vulnerable Bonin white-eye, formerly known as Bonin honey-eater. The Japanese wood pigeon was extirpated in the Iwo Island groups in the 1980s. A small bat, Sturdes pipistrelle, is only known in one record and has not been seen since 1915. The Burnin Flying Fox, also called the Bonin fruit bat, is endemic to the islands. It is currently listed as critically endangered, and a survey published by the Ogasawara Office of Education in 1999 estimated the number to be around 100. Geography. The climate of Ogasawara Islands ranges from a humid subtropical climate to tropical savanna climate. The climate of Chichi-jima is on the boundary between the humid subtropical climate and the tropical savanna climate. Temperatures are warm to hot all year round owing to the warm currents from the North Pacific gyre that surround the island. Rainfall is less heavy than in most parts of mainland Japan since the island is too far south to be influenced by the Aleutian Low and too far from Asia to receive monsoonal rainfall or orographic precipitation on the equatorward side of the Siberian High. The wettest months are May and June, while the driest months are January and February. Ogasawara's easternmost island, Municipality, has the tropical savanna climate with warm to hot temperatures throughout the year. The wettest months are July and August, while the driest months are February and March. Gallery. Bibliography. Chumley, Lionel Berners. The History of the Bonin Islands from the year 1827 to the year 1876. London, Constable and Ampco, Freeman, Otis Willard. Geography of the Pacific. New York. Wiley, OCLC 415089. Hawkes, Francis. Narrative of the expedition of an American squadron to the China Seas and Japan performed in the years 1852, 1853 and 1854 under the command of Commodore M.C. Perry, United States Navy, Washington. AOP Nicholson by order of Congress, 1856, originally published in Senate Executive Documents No. 34 of 33rd Congress, Second Session. Hayashi, Shihei. Sanguko Suranzu Setsu, Edo, manuscript, OCLC 44,014,900. Klaproth, Julius. Sankei Okf Surantasetsu Apaku General des Trois Royaumes, Paris. Oriental Translation Fund of Great Britain and Ireland. OCLC 2,563,166, also OCLC 561,284,561. Kublin, Hyman. The Bonin Islands, 1543 to 1875. PhD thesis, Harvard University, Cambridge, Massachusetts. Muroga Nobuo, Geographical Exploration by the Japanese, in Friesd Hermann up the Pacific Basin, A History of its Geographical Exploration. New York. Sewell, John S. The Logbook of the Captain's Clerk. Adventures in the China Seas, Bangor, Maine. Chas H. Glass and Amp Co. ISBN 0-548-20912-X. Teikoku's Complete Atlas of Japan, Teikoku Shoenko, Limited.